Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, Music School Hustle. I'm Rosalind Hayes and this is the channel where we discuss the latest tips and tricks for improving marketing and managing your music lessons business. And today we're going to be talking about work-life balance. So as you can see, I'm in my workout clothes. It's 8:40 in the morning, and my workday usually doesn't really start until 1 o'clock in the afternoon because, as you probably know as a music teacher, most people want lessons in the afternoon and evening, particularly evening. And if you can reach more people in the afternoon, such as retirees or preschoolers, that's fantastic too, because it can give you a little bit more teaching time under your belt. So I'm going to talk about today some different ways to handle having a regular schedule as a teacher and kind of managing, your life in terms of balancing the business and perhaps a family like me. I have 2 kids and self-care as well, and your other relationships in your life too. So when you are thinking about how to structure your workday, one thing that you should be trying to do is batching your lessons together if at all possible. A couple years back, I made the mistake of trying to teach a couple people in the morning, a couple people in the afternoon, and a couple people in the evening. A lot of people in the evening, because that's usually when people want those times. But just kind of scattering my lessons throughout the day. Everyone would ask me when I was available. Yeah, I'm available. Saturday morning, no problem, I'm available. And sometimes we have to do that in the beginning to kind of get ourselves established and really get going. But I would say that you want to think long term about how you're going to structure your day. And what I try to stick to is about 1 to 9:30 on the weekdays, Monday through Thursday. And then I do a super long day on Sundays for like 12, 13 hours to make up the extra hours that I would have been teaching on Friday. So that allows me to have a little bit of a weekend. The Friday to Saturday weekend. It also allows me to have a little bit of morning and afternoon. I always joke and say, when I was in my last day of high school, and I was waking up that morning at like 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m., whatever it was, to kind of get ready for the school day, I was like, I am never, ever, ever working like this again. Like, I'm never waking up early in the morning. It's just it's not for me. And I know that it's probably not for a lot of people, and people do it anyway, but my goal was kind of to have a position where it wouldn't have to be waking up like that in the morning. And I do wake up that early, but it's not really so much because I have to. My kids might wake up around 7:30. It's more because I want to. So I wake up at maybe 6:30 to do a little self-care in the morning. I don't have to rush off to a job until the afternoon. And this helps me as well because I feel like then I get a little sunlight in the morning and afternoon, which for me is really, really important. I'm not going in where there's no sunlight, coming out where there's no sunlight. I'm out of an office building. So it's very, very important to me to get those mornings in. So I would think about what you want your schedule to look like, what's important to you, where are you trying to prioritize your off time, and also what's going to help you reach the greatest number of students, to kind of balancing it with that. So again, I know that the greatest number of students want they want in the evening. So I try to schedule the people who have the odd schedules from like maybe 1 to 4:30 rather than in the morning, like at 10 o'clock, because otherwise I wouldn't have a life, right? I would have like 2 hours off and then I would be working again until late into the evening. So it would just be chaotic. So I try to batch them together that way. I also try to think about what I want in my life, and what I would like to have is time with my kids in the mornings and early afternoons, and to be out in the sunshine, like I said, and not to be running off working in the early morning. So I've taken that into consideration too when I structure my schedule. And when I do have the time off in the mornings, I do try to structure that as well so that I make sure that I get, I dedicate some time with my kids every day. I dedicate some time to go and work out, take care of myself. I dedicate some time in the morning for just quiet before anybody else is up, because all of those things, you are the business. So you need to take care of yourself first. You need to make sure that your greatest asset, which is you and the information that you're providing, is in the best working shape that it can be. So self-care, finding that time for self-care is really, really, really important. I can't stress that enough. And I think not just as music owners, but in general as business owners, we fall into the trap of not taking care of ourselves and trying to wear too many hats, and trying to really, because we're trying to save money, and we think we can do it all ourselves. So make sure, if you're not in a position where you can hire and delegate things, that you try to, like I said, batch that time together and make some time for self-care. And not only that, if there's any way that you can automate things or make things simpler, try and do that as well. And speaking of batching too, and creating boundaries, the other thing that's really, really important to do is to make sure that you have clear boundaries between your work and your home life. And I slip back and forth into this. I know that my family would say that I slip back and forth into this, and it's so easy, again, as a business owner, when you don't, especially if, like me, I don't have like one solid location where I go into an office and then there's that space where I work. I'm teaching out of my home and things like that. I'm teaching out of my parents' home. I'm teaching out of my in-laws' home. So I don't have that designated space. It's just work in the same way. And my students, they have my cell number, and I make myself available to them as much as I can, because I want to be the best teacher that I can be. But at the same time, it's really, really important for me, again, to take care of myself so that I'm able to continue giving 100% to those students and to the business as well, and to my family and to myself. So you really have to be clear about setting boundaries. If it's not with a specific space that you're teaching, it has to be with a specific time frame, maybe. Like if you say, these are my work hours, 1 to 9:30 p.m., that for me, that's what mine is, then I try not to do anything else related to the business during that time. So yeah, I have lessons. Sometimes I have lessons back to back, 1 to 9:30, but oftentimes what happens is, because of the number of lessons that are scheduled, someone will cancel. If I have a cancellation, and if it's short notice and I don't have time to schedule someone in at that time, then I use that time to catch up on invoices, catch up on scheduling, catch up on getting resources for students, that sort of thing. Because I don't want the entire workday to bleed over into the rest of my life. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I do care a lot about it, but I want to make sure that I'm able to enjoy and be fully present in the other areas of my life. So that means setting, again, some of those clear boundaries. And I really spend a lot of time thinking about how can I create good separation between the business, which is kind of like my third baby, and my home life. So it's so important that you spend a lot of time thinking about that, and you're strict with yourself, because no one else is really holding you accountable. You could just keep working and working and working. And I think a lot of people who do run their own businesses are a certain type of personality, right? I mean, not saying that it's restricted to only a certain type of people to be running their own business, but I think generally being an entrepreneur and running your own business attracts a certain kind of person who's extremely driven, who is extremely passionate, who has a lot of higher goals, a lot of discipline, but that kind of very strong work ethic, I found, for me at least, can kind of go sometimes into overdrive. And take over the rest of my life. So I think it's so important that you sit down, sorry, and think about, you know, where where do you want to have these boundaries? And a good time to think about that would be in self-care. I would suggest doing self-care every morning to kind of reset your brain and get yourself in the right mindset to handle everything you have to tackle throughout the day. And especially if you're a mom like me, it is a heck of a lot to take care of a family. And, you know, I have a very supportive family, but it is a heck of a lot to take care of 2 children and run a business on your, like a business that you've created from scratch. So it is a lot of work. So make sure that you're scheduling in time for yourself and you're scheduling in time to enjoy your kids, because you're not living to work. You know, you're working as a part of your life. All right, that's like kind of my lecture on that for the day. So, you know, really spend a lot of time keeping that in perspective, batching, automating what you can, taking some time in for self-care, and being strict with those boundaries. And then the last thing I would say too is that, wait, hold on, it's gone. So the last thing that I would say, besides, okay, so we had taken care of boundaries, we had taking care of yourself, we had keeping things kind of in perspective. So the last thing I would say is don't let yourself feel pushed to do things that you're not comfortable with in terms of your time. So really try and be strict and say no when you need to. And I think, again, as women and as moms, it's very easy to say yes and just take care of everybody else and forget to take care of ourselves. But I think it's very important that we learn how to say no and learn what is a good thing to say no to, what do we not need to do. And I think as well, as business owners, we try to say yes to everything. We have an opportunity come up and we want to grab it. We're worried that might be the last opportunity, but I think it's important to say no sometimes too, because we need focus, we need direction. So saying no. And the other thing I was going to say, if you can afford to, delegation is a really good strategy for creating from offloading some work onto somebody else's shoulders. So if you know that you're not the best at something, if you know that it's something you don't really enjoy, don't be afraid to offload that task onto someone else if you have the resources to do so. It's usually a really good idea business-wise, because it frees you up, to take better care of yourself. And again, you are the asset as a music teacher, but it also frees you up to think more creatively about the business in general and decide how you want to move forward, because your mind isn't being taken up with more on the day-to-day tasks like invoices and scheduling. So don't be afraid to do that as well. All right, I hope this video has been really helpful to you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If there's a video that you would like me to do, you can also comment below with that idea. And otherwise, please click to subscribe on the button below this video. And I hope to see you next time. Have a great week, guys. Bye.